lost.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. You're actually working. It's good to see.
The simple, yeah. So we just kind of wanted to
Good.
look at together like gray. It's a variation.
Hey, Liz. Yeah.
So these were the three kind of preferences, and we just wanted to kind of chat with y'all about what you thought about that, because I know we've got some concrete elements that are going to be outside, and then we wanted to make sure that it ties in with your concrete and then our benches. So we kind of just want to look at everything. Yeah.
So what they're looking at are some of the samples for potential of the benches. This is
Oh,
a
wait,
class.
I
And this is Liz Core and Charles Kane at Leolia, Marie High Wild, Evan Brandon, Michael Spatial Design. They're landscape architects helping them. And we're trying to coordinate finish colors for the benches with some of the building colors and wanting to be on site to look at it. So
Something a little lighter too, it looks like, right?
yeah. Put a little color in there, reference the arts.
So is this the brick that's being proposed for the new building?
This is the new brick proposal for the building. We haven't quite picked out the grout yet.
Yeah.
So that'll make a big difference. But we're trying to do something that speaks to the existing college brick and the Charleston, but not contradict with our.
Yeah, that old Waccamaw brick is no longer even available. They don't even process it in the same way.
Yeah,
Not the old gas-fired ovens are different from the electric, and you get a wholly different effect.
We've tried to get samples to get close so we can look at it in the office. And they can get close, but they can't do exactly.
Yeah. Well, people have tried.
Oh, they have, yeah.
So you like the distressed look of that brick, trying to imitate something older? Is that the idea?
Well, the idea that has some sort of texture in a way that the current brick does, but
Well, the current brick, I think, does it with different colorations, right?
yeah.
You know, and the firing points and stuff like that will show up on it. But it's a tough thing to try to do, isn't it?
It is.
So it needs to be something that is analogous,
Right.
but clearly distinct, so that we're not trying to be kind of
Yeah, right.
jokingly. a
So the
copy.
colorful stuff, is that on the side of the bench, the top of the bench? What are we?
The green.
Well, I'm looking at several things there. Obviously,
Okay,
there's
so
a choice here, right?
Yeah, these are some glazed bricks that we're going to use to accent the new brick on the black box theater that's going to go on
Oh, cool.
this side. So this part of Simmons is going to be demolished that way to make room for black box theater to get our large span.
Have you all seen any of the images?
Yeah,
of the
we've
proposed-
seen
so-
the drawings.
Yeah, so this is the proposed field brick, which will kind of go in general.
Right.
And then this green is a reference to the shutters of Randolph Hall and some of the green that you can see around the main core of the campus.
Cool.
And that'll be an accent on the brick around the window openings. But then north of this is landscape options.
This is building, and then we'll get into, we're meeting here to talk about the courtyard in a minute.
Well, I'm glad to see we're finally getting away from the color that EAR at one point referred to as prune whiz. You know, the kind of purpley,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
stucco, which was nice as far as it goes, but it's definitely 1970s, 1980s, right? It's nice to have the lighter colors.
So I think this is like all the colors.
Oh, yes, this is,
But they send you everything, so we're not in the bright red.
Well, very good.
Sandy apple.
Well, thank you for letting us intrude. I didn't want to take away from your
No, it's
billable
great.
hours here.
this is fun.
Yeah.
I'll
Very good.
join y'all if y'all still here.
Sure, sounds good. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for your presentation. All right, so we're just talking now.
Well, what do y'all think?
Yeah. Kindergarten.
It doesn't line up with anything right now, does it?
No.
Yeah, so you can see the shadow wall that is great for signage and kind of defining the space. The column falls almost right in the middle of the terminus to the greenway. So we're gonna, in the new design, that will be a canopy that comes out, and it's not gonna fully cantilever. There'll be some kind of support to help the structural because of all the seismic. design loads that we have to, and hurricane uplift requirements. So it'll really kind of align. That black box will come out to about the edge of where you're standing there, and you'll come straight into the building along this axis. There will be at the. We're still studying it right now, but we're looking at putting it on top of the canopy, and then wrapping it around the sides so you can see it as a pedestrian from the north or the south.
Well, I can't talk you into doing something Art Nouveau with bright lights, can
Yeah, like the Crest Building or one of the. Yeah.
Well, I got excited when I saw those colorful glazed doors.
And in front of the glass, so this will be all glass in the lobby, and because it's facing west, it's got really harsh sunlight in the afternoons. So to shield that, we're using terracotta that they call baguettes. I don't know why they came up with baguettes for it.
It's making me hungry.
But it's a kind of an oval-shaped, airfoil-shaped material of terracotta, and they'll be glazed different colors. And those colors, if you walk down the greenway, you'll see all those colors on the yellows and the greens.
So we're going to have a little rainbow row here.
There'll be a little bit of that referenced in there to show, and it's recessed off the road, but it'll really show people that this is a school of the arts and bring in some color, some of the paint colors that they use in their studios and whatnot.
Well, very good. So we can see right now that the sort of symmetry of this thing is not quite what we would have liked, and that you're trying to put something back together that makes sense for the rest of the college campus. And that, yeah, gosh, I don't know. I was involved in the choice of this particular brick back in the day, and I always have a hard time commenting because I don't think we've really come up with the right brick yet. You know, nobody, that I've seen. It's a difficult thing. When Ed Pinckney was here advising President Stern, he said the architect has to use this brick. It only has a choice to color mortar. And that was all he wanted to give him. You want to finish the mortar differently, that's fine, but you got to use this brick. Well, not sure we're there at this point, but it would be nice to come up with something that felt right, I guess. It'd be interesting to see what this comes out. So what was your inspiration here?
The inspiration for the design really was, the arts themselves.
Okay. You had another building you were thinking about, or whatever?
Of course, we looked at a lot of different precedents of different buildings, but I mean, the biggest precedent is this area of campus. And trying to pay respect to the existing civic center because it is a very unique design that we built across that period, but also pay respect to this extremely significant building and yard across the street. So we're trying to balance in between that of being respectful of this building, but also respond to some of the cues that the original design. This is Tom Penning's first design. Out of school, I think this was one of the first projects that he did.
Wasn't the CPW building?
I don't think so. I think this was
Okay.
Mid to late 70s. This was one of his first projects in Charleston, and it's a nice project. It was unique and different and bold, which is appropriate for a school of the arts to be something a little different. And it reflects its time. And so we wanted the new building to reflect its time, but also be respectful of what it was being added onto, and respectful in scale to what's across the street to not stand out too much.
Well, I'm really excited about something modern. Well, I think the use of glass and color is really welcome. I get tired of the same old brick home.
Well, it's kind of fitting for being an art center because a lot of people look at this and think, it's a pretty cool building, but it's not something you would think as an arts.
It kind of doesn't have the wow factor.
Yeah,
at this point.
exactly. And since it's not really that historic or doesn't meet the 50-year requirement, then I feel like you have the free range to kind of do that.
Yeah, reminds me of an
without
old.
being too excessive, I guess.
Yeah. Reminds me of an old P.G. Woodhouse saying when he was talking about walking around in East London. He said, "I turned the corner and came across a veritable eczema of red brick." There's a lot, and that purpley stucco color is the prune whiz color that I use. It's a very popular part of it. So there is life after COVID, maybe, huh?
Of course.
Do you think this will be the thing that will, announce that to the world, at least from the college perspective?
We hope. Anything at this
So when
point,
is
right?
completion?
We'll take whatever it is.
By
That's
fall of 23, I hope so.
What is completion date? 23?
Fall of 23 is
fall of 23. So move in the summer, ready for that fall semester 23.
And when does like demo start?
demo will start probably in September.
September.
Yeah, this summer's gonna be really.
Very shaky day.
I'm still gonna be here.
Well, guys, what do you think? You're gonna be happy to call this a new home or not?
I'll be gone, but I'll be happy about it.
Happy to be gone and happy that it's happening, right? That's all right. We'll call you for money. You know.
I'll still come see the performances.
Well, it's an exciting project, and you know, there's no such thing as perfect, but we keep trying.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about taking a building, much like Randolph Hall has been changed how many times, right? To take the building and change and adapt it and so forth, really speaks to kind of institutional commitment to long-term viability of these preservation issues we're talking about. And I like that. I think that that's going to add a lot of character. And I, you know, just on the principle of it, you know, without even talking about the design necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no columns, right?
There's never, a design is never done until it's built, you know, and
Right.
same thing with a painting. It's never done until you stop painting. You can always keep going and keep going. So it's really a snapshot in time, but I think if you go back and look at the BAR application that you submitted or posted, there's the Sanborn maps that show from the late 1800s all the way to today how this block has changed, and you see it from perpendicular lots of small residentially scaled buildings to the mid-70s when the college became a state college and really started to expand into a more, you know, campus scale, which is fitting for a college campus. So it's good for cities to evolve, but always respect where they came from. There's a quote in a book called Soft City that uniformity promotes retrospection and diversity promotes innovation. And so I think part of the respect of Charleston architecture is the height, scale, and mass can be respectful of the context and the district it's in, but allow for diverse styles of architecture within that to promote that.
Well, another thing I really like that you find in college from time to time, if we can hold on to it, is bits and pieces of the shadows or relics of things that happened before. The thing that I really like is down the road at the entrance to the Halsey area is a cut there that actually is reflective of an old close that used to be there. You know, one of the patterns for the city of Charleston was that they kept the blacks and the Irish in these little closes. You know, you've seen Huddy's Do As You Choose Alley and that sort of thing. And that was one of them. And all we have left of that whole footprint in the 18th, 19th century Charleston is a little cut there. You know, and just being able to reflect that is really, I think, helpful to try to hang on to, you know, a feeling, even though everything else around has changed. So hanging on to those things, keeping little footnotes, even if they may seem kind of quirky, really helps tell the story of this place. Yeah. I'm really grateful for whatever we can get in that respect. Well, guys, any questions, thoughts, ideas? We need to go back and look at those plans again now, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of what these students can talk about and write about, I mean, we're leaving it kind of open-ended in terms of coming up with some kind of notebook entry about this. Once they look at the drawings, I would ask you, if you don't mind, what would you like them to reflect on?
No, go ahead.
So you have two perspectives, the architects and the managers here, right?
You know, I think it's kind of a summation of what I've already said. You know, I hope that afterwards that you see that it was a thoughtful and respectful design solution that paid respect to the past, but also looked forward into the future of the college and the future of the city. That created a much clearer entrance and is more welcoming and inviting to the community at large, to draw people in to see the great work that the students are doing, and, you know, become an asset to the city in general for Spoleto and other events, to where you know, I think these cultural institutions are what makes cities vibrant, and, you know, making it a place that is clearly a cultural institution that's open to all would be an asset to not only the college but the city. So that would be an ideal goal.
That would be the fresh designer's look when it jumped in here between you.
Yeah.
And the preservationist perspective is what I talked about before with Randolph Hall, is how we can build layers of history and create that kind of interest. Brian Eno wrote a lot about that. He's an artist himself. About that's what convinces us the value of things is those layers. And so we have the architect trying to make a difference and write a contemporary story, but he's maintaining, you know, the context and trying to maintain some of those layers. And so that's, from a preservationist perspective, what I find exciting.
Yeah,
From the manager's perspective.
From the manager's perspective, it's you sort of assemble a team, if you will, of designers, preservationists, a group of consultants. We have 7 or 8 consultants. And you have a desire to do something to a building. There was a reason to start, right? And we got the reason to start. We have a tired old building. So you bring together a group of people and start to capture ideas. And so from a design perspective, you really want to capture where your location and where it fits and how it fits. And then the end users, from a practical standpoint, what do they need in their space? Once you get inside the building, it looks like something outside. Once you get inside the building, what does it mean? What does it accomplish? Does it fit their needs? And so from the management perspective, you're tying all these pieces together ultimately to get to, and there's money involved, a budget. And so you tie all of this together, get everybody sort of pointing in the right direction. You talk about a lot, you listen a lot, fit it within a budget. And if you do that, then you have a project, and you, at the end of the day, we'll start to tear things apart. You have to tear things apart before you can build them, and then we'll build them, and we'll have a ribbon cutting ceremony, whatever it might be at the end, and the fruits of a lot of good thought. The process will hopefully bear tremendous fruit, and it'll be a beautiful building that the wow factor will be there, and it'll be the ideas for graduates to come back and go, hey, there's a show, and I'm going back to campus and those sorts of things.
So what we're hearing is the manager is actually a planner, you know, thinking about the future and putting things together. He's not just fixing air conditioning systems, right? And this is a common misnomer. You know, actually one of the highest paid building professions are building managers, right? And, you know, it's because they wrap in all of those skill sets. So that's a great summary of your efforts. How long have you been involved in it?
Probably, I guess about a year or so. Yeah.
About a year?
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much. Your questions, ideas at this point? So just a reflection on what they talked about and your impression and your sort of thoughts about how you might enter into that discussion if you were looking for a role for yourself in the future. You know, you see yourself in the management, the design, you know, planning, whatever, some combination. Or just as a preservationist, what would you think about this? Oh, speaking of preservation, can I get some of these brick when you finish with? If I can clean them off, right? Yeah.
Talk to me once we get started.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool what they're doing. That seems like a fun job.
Yeah, oh, exactly. Well, as a landscape architect, that's kind of what I lend towards myself. I'm trying to put a building cap on right now. Yeah.
So this is a great example for you guys. I mean, you know, we have landscape architects, but we have structural engineers, civil engineers, mechanical engineers. For the Black Box Theater, we have theater consultants. So again, the team that Andy has put together, I mean, we have 2 architectural firms working together. They have a huge team that's...
We have acousticians, audiovisual consultants.
A lot of input goes into it. A lot of these kinds of sessions where ultimately it all gets put together on the final plan. All the agencies involved approve that plan, and we build something. And so it's a neat effort when it all comes together. I think we're lucky we put together a great team, and that's very important. One thing we haven't talked about is the contractor, the company that will actually build the project. They're involved in this process, in the design process early on as well.
What's the name of the contractor?
It's Whiting Turner.
Okay.
It's a large contract. Their corporate headquarters is in Baltimore. They have an office here in Charleston. But it's you want the builder, if you will, the contractor, to be intimately involved with the design process, because you know,
Yeah.
they've got to work together,
Yeah.
particularly when we have a fixed budget. And so we're all working. I keep reminding everybody, and he's probably sick of hearing it, you know, what about our budget? What about our budget? So, but that's, again, it's that relationship that you bring to the whole project, all the players.
What did you say the budget was to?
It's the overall
Yeah.
project is 50 million.
50 million.
Yeah. Our construction number is probably going to be in the 33 plus or minus.
So what's
on
the-
the design and everything?
Yeah. So what's unique about what he's describing, I think, from a typical design project with the architect and the owner, is that you have the owner is, shall we say, a little bit more involved than an average owner, because they're involved in management, maintenance, all those things, and it makes for a much more integrated design process and construction process, of course. Yes. Anyway, thanks, guys. Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
Swing by once we get started. You got questions, you know?
I'm gonna go talk to your landscape or hear what they've got to say, if you don't
Sure.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.